Your first album since Play On from a few years back. I know in some interviews that people have asked you, when are you coming out with the album? I know that's been a question you've gotten from reporters, fans, and everybody over the past 3 years. But I know you felt, and you've expressed this in different interviews, you've felt, a need to maybe not be in so much, front of the public, all the time during that time when an album's out.
Well, I feel like I'm one of those very lucky artists that, I have an album come out and I'll have 4 or 5 singles come off that album. So I can ride that for a while. It takes a while for us to get through everything and then go on tour with it. And, so in that way, I'm kind of out of the public eye when I'm on tour doing shows. But last year especially, I had Soul Surfer came out and I had a few duets that I was able to be a part of and just a few extracurricular activities that I was able to break up my normal ritual and cycle of making an album and step away for a second and do something different and switch things up. And for me, it kept things very fresh and very new and very exciting when I got back into it. And I feel like you can really hear that in the album. And I feel like, if I miss it a little bit and people miss me, hopefully a little bit, then everybody wins when I come back with an amazing album.
Well, you just alluded to Soul Surfer, the movie you were in last year. What was the movie experience like for you?
It was a lot of fun, and to be a part of a movie like that, I've had so many kids come up to me since then and tell me that they love the movie, which means they really got something out of it. And to be a part of that story and that family and be a part of telling that story was just an amazing experience for me. And now to hear people come up to me, especially kids come up to me and tell me that they love it, means a lot.
How important is that for you to have kids come up? Because, I know that they definitely look up to you and everything. Do you feel like a role model?
I mean, that word's a little tricky because if you start thinking about everything that you're doing and once you realize how many people are watching you, you're never going to make everybody happy all the time, ever. It's never going to happen. So the most important thing for me is to do what I do. And of course, if people can look at that and if kids can look at that and say, I want to be like that, then that's wonderful. But I really try not to think about it too much because I feel like I could drive myself crazy doing that.
Another aspect of your career from the past year that you brought up was some of the duets you've done. Over the past few years, you've done duets with people like Randy Travis, Steven Tyler, and Tony Bennett. That kind of cuts a wide swath.
Yeah, it does. And Brad Paisley. And
sure.
I love getting the opportunity to do something that's not 100% me. I get to kind of change a little bit and play another character and slip into a different role and sing a different kind of music. That's a lot of fun for me. It really does keep things really interesting because even on my Idol days, each week we were singing different kinds of songs. So I've been doing that my whole life and then doing that professionally since I've been on Idol.
Since the Idol days, has there been, and I'm sure there has been, but, just maybe 1 or 2 of the moments, have you had some of those pinch me moments still after all these years?
I feel like I have those moments at least once a day, probably a lot more than that. I mean, I don't know. I remember being a college student and eating ramen noodles every single day because that's what I could afford. And,
sure.
Now there are just certain things that I'm able to do, places I'm able to go. I'd never been on a plane before Idol. So, I mean, I fly everywhere now. And just sometimes when I do those things, when I'm sitting on that plane or, in the grocery store, like not buying the ramen noodles, I feel I definitely have pinch me moments. Like, this is my life.
Brought up Brad Paisley a few moments ago. He actually appears on the album, but you got to listen really close for those guitar strings.
Yes. I wrote this song with the guys who wrote Before He Cheats, among other things, and Blown Away on this album. I got together with them and we wrote a song called Cupid's Got a Shotgun. And it is what you'd think it is. It's a fun rockin' and country song, and when we first wrote it and we were trying to think of what direction we wanted to take it in and what we wanted it to sound like, I wanted some personality guitar in there, and Brad plays the guitar a little bit.
A little bit.
He's a pretty good guitar player, that Brad Paisley, so I asked him if he would come and play on it, and he was there.
The duet you guys had out last year, Remind Me, such a powerful tune.
Thank you. Yeah, I loved it from the second I heard it because it's so real. You know, we all get stuck, whether you're in a newlywed or whether you've been married, 10, 20 plus years. I think we all kind of get into those comfortable situations where we take each other for granted. So it's really nice to have a song like that that's just so real and says what we all feel at some point.
Well, since February, when the release date for the new album was released, I know fans have kind of circled that date on the calendar. I know you have to be really excited to get this music out to them.
I am. We've worked really hard, and I really think we've come up with an entire album that is amazing, and I'm so proud of it.
The album making process, is that something that you enjoy?
It is. I mean, I love writing. I love listening to demos, and once you see it all kind of coming together, and I start listening to things and putting them in, playlists and trying to figure out what sounds good with each other, and that whole creative process is probably my favorite part. I mean, I love just seeing it all come together, and then you get into the studio and we start recording, and then I put my vocals on it, and to go back now and listen to some of the demos, it's crazy how far some of the songs have come.
And these songs on the album, I know people ask artists whenever albums come out, what's your favorite song on an album? That's kind of a hard question for an artist to answer because you spend so much time working with it that they kind of become like children. Yeah,
I mean, some of them, ones that I wrote, ones that I heard, ones that I fell in love with, I obviously love them all for different reasons. It's not like I can't pick one song that's my favorite. I can give you a handful, and they're all going to have different reasons why.